Hey you guys, it's me, Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. As some of you might know, I like to play attrition style decks that play sort of silver bullet creatures or just hateful utility weenies. I love when I drop a 2-mana utility bear, it just really fucks with my opponent's plans. And well, that got me thinking. I started thinking, what are the most hateful cards in all of Magic? So in the interest of a fun thought exercise, I thought I'd bring you the top 5, or my top 5 most hateful cards in all of Magic. Number 5, it's Aven Mind Sensor. Now, okay, he comes in at 5 on the list because he's not quite as hateful as the other cards we'll get to in a moment. And yes, there are other cards that could make this list. We'll discuss that in a moment. The reason I've included Aven Mind Sensor in this list is because he kind of hates on everything. Like all decks that want to fetch, any deck that is using fetch lands. Aven Mind Sensor stops your opponent from searching properly. Most of the time they will not find the card they're looking for in the top 4 cards of their library. Mind Sensor was even better when Pod was around, but even after Pod's banning, it still shits on a lot of modern decks. Mind Sensor is pretty good at disrupting plans in Legacy as well. The card does a lot of work. I mean, fetch lands aren't very good when they can't find you a land. It disrupts Stoneforge Mystic packages, it disrupts things like Scapeshift in Modern, it has a lot of applications. Some of you might criticise its inclusion on this list because it's more of a speed bump than an actual hoser, so therefore it's not quite as hateful as the other cards on the list, but it has Flash, so sometimes you can just end a turn it when they're tapped out of mana and their fetch land just cracked, basically fizzles because they can't find a land off of it. The Flash kind of makes the card a little bit more spiteful, a little bit more vile, a little bit more like fuck you and your fetch lands. Torpor Orb! Twin is a dominant deck in Modern, there's no two ways about it. Pretty much from its inception it's been there as the combo deck to beat. And traditionally, Twin being blue-red doesn't have that many ways to deal with artifacts, so when you bring on a little 2-mana fuck you like Torpor Orb, it really puts a damper on its day. So turning it off the most prominent combo in Modern is a big deal, but it also turns off the end of the battlefield effects of other cards as well. It was sweet against Pod, it's still good against Malero and company, and I mean it turns Snapcaster into a strictly worse Ambush Viper. Any card that makes Flicker Wisp not do its flickery thing is vile and deserves to be burnt and destroyed, and get the fuck out with that Torpor Orb bullshit. Number 3, Iona Shield of Emeria. Iona is a fucking beast. Well, not literally, she's an angel, but that's not the point. Usually, reanimated Iona can lock people out of games completely. You can drop her naming the only colour the opponent is playing, or you can drop her name the colour of the removal that they'd need to kill Iona, or you can just turn off a combo, for example. Iona has a lot of utility in that sense. In multiplayer games like EDH and Commander, Iona will often just shut 2 to 3 players out of the game, and then you just watch one player fight it out with the Iona player perhaps, or you will sit around top decking waiting for that one answer you've got to Iona. Of all the big silver bullet fatties like Iona and Elish Norn, Iona is up there as the most hateful one. She doesn't hate in a broad way though, she hates in concentrated bile and pus-filled beam of pure hatred and fuckery. She picks and chooses where she wants to hate, and we fucking love her for it. Number 2 is Blood Moon. We all know that most Magic decks across multiple formats in the top tiers all use sweet non-basic lands that provide multiple colours of mana and lots of utility. That's where Blood Moon comes in to fuck you up and shit in your mouth. It hates on entire formats, fucking wrecking tier 1 decks left, right and centre. Have you ever heard the term greedy mana base? Well, Blood Moon eats greedy mana bases for breakfast. It bends them over and it slaps them upon the bottom and it puts some fingers where fingers probably should not go. The beauty of Blood Moon is that it feels almost white in its sort of weird parallel effect that it has. It's inherently fair. But that said, much like Wrath of God, if your deck is designed to play around that card, it becomes a little less fair for the opponent. When your deck is set up to utilise it correctly by fetching the basic lands and the foreknowledge that you're going to cast Blood Moon, you can wreck people. Unexpected victims of Blood Moon are always a little bit salty. And of course, an honourable mention goes out to Boil and to Choke, this sort of like younger, more aggressive stepbrothers and sisters of Blood Moon that just fucking permanently screw people over. There's Flash Fires, there's even Armageddon's the old granddad of this sort of card. Mana Denial and Mana Hate is great, and Blood Moon is the king of all of these. Number 1. So what could beat Choke or Blood Moon? What else could wreck fools and feel unrelentingly relentless in its hate? What is truly the most hateful of hoses in Magic history? Wow, it's just an inconspicuous 2-mana enchantment from an Innistrad block. It's Rest in Peace. The reason I have Rest in Peace beat out something as mighty and as powerful as Blood Moon is its simplicity, its pure, concentrated hatred of an entire strategy. Arguably, Rest in Peace is not very well designed. It's not nuanced, it's not got any complications or sort of strategy to it. It just slams down and completely fucks people over. It shits on entire groups and archetypes that want to use the graveyard as a resource. It's kind of both big and dumb at the same time as being small, only 2 mana and Super efficient. With Blood Moon you can float the mana and cast the spell after Blood Moon is resolved to blow it up, but with Rest in Peace you don't really get that. They still get half the value, they still get to exile your carefully stocked graveyard and shit on your plans. In essence, it's obviously designed to beat reanimated strategies, but it has a lot of other applications as well, and has sort of splash damage in other parts of multiple formats. It hates on Reanimator, it hates on Flashback. It exiles the graveyard and hates on a resource for modern Grixis decks, so Tassigurs and Gurmag Anglers are stranded in hand. It shrinks Ghosts, it turns off Past in Flame, it turns off Pyromancer's Ascension, just shits on Storm. It ruins Lyra combo, it stops Sphinxes from triggering, it even stops Arcbound Ravages on Death Trigger, because it doesn't die, it just goes straight to exile and no one really gets any counters. When I'm playing white, I don't need the house of less than 2 Rest in Peace. It is pure distilled hate in concentrated white enchantment form, and I fucking love it. So that's my top 5 most hateful cards in all of Magic. To be honest, making a top 5 was really difficult, and making it not exclusively white was even harder. Anyway, let me know what I missed, put your top 5 in the comment section below, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and also share it. If you like the video, just fucking share it. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi. Good night, sluts.